Well, hello everyone, and welcome to, I think this is episode 3 now of the WorldWide Canaries podcast. Now, it is just me today. Lewis is a bit under the weather. He was at the whole game today. And if you guys saw, once again, just another very lackluster performance from Norwich City. 1-1 draw. Another pathetic first half. Just to be upfront and straightforward with it, a very, very poor first half again. It seems like we can't get off to a good start right now. I feel like that's kind of been our strong suit throughout the season. We've always started strong, but we've ended poorly. And now we've had a run of games where we've started poorly, and today we ended relatively strongly. We got a 1-1 result. Josh Sargent, 5 goals in his last 5 games. He is coming up clutch for us, but not good enough. That is 2 points from a possible 9, where realistically, as a football club, as a fan base, we are all expecting a full-on 9 points. And to only get 2 is very, very, very underwhelming. Hull, 2 wins at home the whole season. You would have banked on us to lose that game, but we got a draw from it. And in the grand scheme of things, we could have had more if we finished our dinner, but I think a 1-1 in terms of how we played, in terms of what went on, is fair. Now, it's only me today, so I have a bunch of notes down. I'm going to kind of go through some points, talk about them, kind of get my feeling across of how I'm feeling about how today went and where I see us for the rest of the season. So let me go ahead and pull up my notes I have down here. Here we go. So, first order of business, Callum Doyle. Unfortunately for us, out for the next 2 games. Now, we can kind of use it as, I'm going to say benefit. It's not really a benefit, but we can get some minutes under Jose Cordoba. Obviously, next season, I don't really think we're going to be bidding for Callum Doyle next season. I don't know if the club's going to want to spend that money outright on one singular player. When we have Jose Cordoba, who is raring and ready to go, and is unfortunately for him, because he hasn't really put in a lot of bad performances this season, unfortunately for Jose Cordoba, he has just been a full-on bench warmer coming on at the end of games. But it's a crucial 2 games for Jose, and a chance to state his presence on the team again. Honestly, I think a few weeks back we saw that Jose missed, I think it was the Watford game, I'm pretty sure. He missed the team meeting the day beforehand because he overslept. And that happens to all of us. I mean, don't get me wrong, I oversleep all the time when it comes to college. But we don't have to talk about that. We really don't have to talk about that, because I would get in trouble if people knew that I overslept classes sometimes. But swiftly moving on from that, and I think the biggest issue from today, and once again we noticed, was our midfield. Truly not good enough. The one positive we can take out of it is that we are getting Jacob Wright minutes under his belt, and for next season, seeing this consistent football, because we can't forget, Jacob Wright had never played senior football in his career, or started a league game in his career. He made a few sub appearances for City in the Champions League and in the Prem on a few occasions, but he has never started and played the minutes he is playing right now at senior level. I think in both games, against Preston and against against Hull today, very slow starts, but he's working his way into it. And the unfortunate thing is the fact that we don't have Kenny. It really is unfortunate. I really hope Kenny's okay too. Apparently he's having some breathing problems. So it's good that we are taking the proper precautions with Kenny, because there's no point to risk that with whatever it could be. So in the grand scheme of things, it's good for him, but it just, as we said it last podcast, it shows how much we are truly missing him in the middle of the park. Jacob Sorensen, Lungi, again, you know what we're going to get from him. He's just a filler player, unfortunately. Doesn't necessarily put a foot wrong, but doesn't do anything right. Passes back and forth, is just a simple player, which I guess you need in there right now. I will go out and say that in terms of the midfield, I think Anis Ben Slimani was the one that was a little bit out of sorts today. And I have written here, we talked about it last pod, Emi Marcondes, it's such a big miss. We don't have that true 10. And in my mind, I'm thinking, Hoff, can we maybe say we start Lewis Dobbin, right? And then move Borja into a central role. Get him onto the ball. Play that Emi Marcondes role. See what happens. Because we need that technical presence in there. We need someone who's going to drive in the middle of the park. We saw it a few times with Oscar Schwartau when he came on today. But then again, I criticized Oscar last game because he wasn't making the right decisions going forward. And I feel like Schwartau, Anis, I probably would go for Oscar Schwartau. If you were asking me if I was picking my players who I would want starting today, I would have gone a bit bold. I would have started Lungi for the main reason I don't want to have Wright in that Kenny role yet because I want to work him in. Just because we saw how risky he was against Preston. So I feel like that was the smart move if we start Lungi there. But I would have put Borja in a 10. Or Matej Jurasek. We'll get on the Jurasek, but I'm not putting Jurasek in that 10 because I think he is something special on that wing. But we needed that presence going forward, and it just showed how much it lacked today. Again, we can't, we're just getting outran, out-possessed in that midfield. The first 20 minutes, Hull were all over us. We could not get out. And it's down to our midfield. We see when we have a full strength 11, Kenny is just... He has been that scapegoat for so long, but he is so crucial. But again, the good thing about this, it's a 3-year project. We aren't expected to go up this season. This whole second half of the season, if we can keep developing Jacob Wright into the player and we make the move permanent, which we most likely will, he could eventually be our Kenny replacement. But we can't rely on him for that Kenny role right now because it's not easy. It is not easy to play that role that Kenny is playing. He's so experienced, and we can't really expect that yet with Jacob Wright with the lack of first-team football he has had. So that's the main thing there. But moving on to one of the positives, there's a few positives I do want to talk about. And that first one is Matej Jurasek. He makes things happen. I saw him. He was the face on the Instagram post when we announced our lineup today, and he looked mad. Jurasek looks mad. He looks like he just wants to. He has that aura about him. He wants to go at teams. He's direct. He takes on players. He's not playing it. He's not passing it back and forth. He is direct, and that's what we love at this football club, and he is going to be crucial for us. We saw it in the Preston game. When he came on, he was probably the most productive player in that entirety of the game for us. He made the most chances happen in the 19 minutes I think he had. I think he came on the 71st minute. So that is... I'm very impressed with Matej, and we have a week's rest, and hopefully we can get a result in the coming weeks because, again, we're still in that playoff contention, man. Again, do we want to go up the season? Probably not, because we will go straight back down. It's just frustrating from a fan's point of view, because where we've been at for years and years now, to see us probably having another one of these seasons where it's like we're pushing, but we mess up. We push again, we mess up. It's very, very, very annoying from a fan's point of view with that kind of thing. But, again, next up we have Stoke. So, again, there's points to grab there. There really is. We are just not taking advantage of this run of games we had. It's just, we really aren't. In terms of the stats today, I mean, 15 shots for us, 12 for Hull, 3 on target for us, 4 for Hull. Very even, well-rounded. We had more possession again today, but that seems to be the case. We haven't really been doing much with our possession. Yeah, it's very, 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 very frustrating from a fan's point of view. One negative I want to point out is a lot of positives with Lucien Mahovo, but I don't know what it is. It's like his awareness on crosses. He's just not there yet, and we can't fully blame him. He has just been chucked into the starting 11. He's been doing fantastic. Obviously, he got more minutes than Kellen Fisher today. Kellen Fisher, I praised him last podcast. He was a bit underwhelming today. But again, there's growing pains with these players, man. We're going to have growing pains with Mahavo. We're going to have growing pains with Fisher. But the way I look at it, and the way I'm starting to kind of see this, we're not in a bad spot right now. We're in the playoff contention. We are molding our players right now. With this experience we're going to get in the second half of the season, with all the young talent we have at our disposal, it is going to be crucial for next season. We're going to have a fully confident Kellen Fisher next season, a fully confident Lucien Mahovo, hopefully a fully confident Jose Cordoba, because, I mean, we have a Callum Doyle replacement right there. We have Rory McConville as well, who is going to be probably introduced into the squad. We're going to have Brad Hills coming back from loan from Stockport, where I think next season that's probably going to be the time where we see Shane Duffy kind of move away from the starting 11. Obviously, I'm praising Shane this season. He has been a rock for us. Completely different story to last season with Shane Duffy, so we can't criticize Shane too much. Obviously, sometimes he makes the wrong passing decisions. But that's happening with a lot of our back line. We just make that wrong decision, and we cause our own problems half the time, which is another thing that Hoff needs to fix. Yeah. I guess that's almost about it. It's just another underwhelming performance. Josh Sargent, once again, being clinical. I think I already mentioned that. 5 goals in 5. Josh Sargent, absolutely clinical. And yeah, I'm just looking through my list, and I think we've kind of got to everything we need to get to. Apart from, I guess I can mention Borja Sainz as well. Borja, it's there. You know, we could have scrapped 3 points today. He hit the post. Should have finished his dinner on that corner. But you know that happens, man. That happens. I feel like he needs that one goal to go back in for him, and then the floodgates are going to start to open. We see the kind of impact he has. There's a reason he always plays 19 minutes, and he can play 90 minutes every game. He is that kind of player. Ante Cernats coming off the bench again for Josh Sargent. I wish we could leave Sarge on, which, I mean, we can on occasion if we need to, but it is smart. We don't want another Sargent injury. We really don't want that. And I think I'm going to stand by the fact that I feel like this summer we need to bring in just a backup experienced striker to have along Ante Cernats for that second striker role behind Sargent. I feel like Ashley Barnes was that, but I'm talking a player a little bit more, maybe just past, maybe in his 30s, like maybe 30, 29, 30. I feel like we do need that experience in that position to come off the bench. But again, Ante, he's putting up numbers this season when he hasn't necessarily been playing well. So again, it's kind of the same thing with Wright, Kellen Fisher, Mahova. We want these players to just develop. Same thing with Matej Jurasek. We want them to develop this season. Use the second half of the season for them to become accustomed to what the championship is expecting, get used to the environment, and then next season we want to see a drastic improvement. Next season, I expect at this point, this time of the year, for us to be in the playoffs. I wouldn't expect us to be top of the table. I would expect us to be fighting for those top places. But again, it all really depends on what we do this summer. Who we keep, what happens. Obviously, we're going to be losing Callum Doyle. We're not going to be bringing him back. again, judging based on how Borja's performing, if Borja's performed like he did at the start of the season, there's a chance we keep a hold of Borja signs, but I will accept 25 to 30 million for him because I trust our recruitment and I think we can bring in some players who can do just as good for us. Remember, Borja signs had a purple patch, a very, very good purple patch. I'm not hating on Borja. We know how good of a footballer he is, but that is something as a fan base we have to take into consideration. It's like, I think it's 10 games now. Obviously, he had a lengthy ban for the spitting incident in between, but that's 10 games now without a goal. The whole start of the season, he was outperforming his XG, so it's kind of evening out. But yeah, that's kind of my take on Borja signs. I know it's a little bit of a shorter one today. On this podcast, we're going to start implementing like transfer news, all that kind of stuff when we have it, when the time's right. Right now, it's kind of that February period. Personally, I hate January and February. March is when you start looking forward to the summer, honestly. I feel like that's that March time. And then, yeah, Stoke next weekend. Very, very crucial game for us. Again, we want to see 3 points. But we've said that now for the past 3 games, and we haven't seen 3 points from any of them. So we will see what happens. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, leave a rating, leave a comment, and I will see you guys next week for Stoke at home at Carrow Road. Peace.